I always say to myself, if something does happen to him, at least he's doing what he loves the best. It's his passion.
He's a modern-day Columbus, exploring the limits of body and mind.
I think Mike is actually a little bit naive. He just goes there and he says, well, I'll see what it is. I'll live that adventure and see what happens.
There's moments where it's easier to close your eyes and die than to stay alive.
Providenia is an old Russian ghost town along the desolate Siberian coast.
The border guard tells you, welcome to the future because you passed the date line. But what the eye see is like 50 years ago. It's still Cold War. And now that the perestroika or communism has finished, some of these people, they're caught up there and they can never get back to civilization.
After more than a year in the cold, that's all Michael Frederick Horn was trying to do. One of the world's greatest solo adventurers, he was born in South Africa and bound by the politics of his homeland as a child.
When I was a kid, South Africa was very much boycotted by the rest of the world.
Since 1948, the government had enforced a policy of apartheid. The very word means separateness in the Dutch dialect of Afrikaans. Black South Africans were denied basic human rights. They lived in fear and squalor, confined to rural homelands. And any black voice against the white-led minority government was silenced.
Because the decision that was made by the previous government, our generation of people were basically boycotted. We were punished for what decisions they took.
In 1974, South Africa was condemned and expelled from the United Nations. Mike was 8 years old, living in an all-white world. His father was a sports star in the colonial game, rugby.
The national sport of South Africa, and my father basically played at a very high level. My father was quite an icon and a hero to me.
Michael and Blanche Horn raised 4 children. Mike was the oldest boy. He learned more from his father, an outdoorsman, than he did from any of his teachers.
It was a different way of educating a child. I didn't like sitting in a classroom listening to somebody telling me something. I wanted to go and experience it.
He had no sign of fear, you know. He would never think about getting hurt or anything. He would look at it and say, oh, it's possible, and then he would go and do it.
As a boy, he excelled in competition.
Running track events, and then I moved into triathlons and playing at a high level rugby as well.
He dreamed of competing at the very highest level.
I wanted to participate worldwide. I wanted to go to the Olympic Games, but we weren't allowed to.
Instead, he was sent to war.
It was kind of part of life, you know. When you reach the age of 18, 19 and you finish high school, it was time for you to be drafted.
By the time Mike came of age, South Africa was awash in blood. The government was cracking down on civil disobedience in the black homelands. And troops were being sent north to fight a communist insurgents in Angola.
The Russians wanted to get into South Africa through northern Africa because we had what they needed to put into their atomic bombs.
Angola had become a Cold War chess piece. The Soviet Union and Cuba were backing a socialist government. The US and South Africa were supporting rebel factions.
That was bush war. That was man on man in the jungle, guerrilla warfare. It would be compared with Vietnam.
I remember there was this colonel, and he called out my name, and he actually walked towards me, and he looked in my face, and he says, "You Mike Horn's brother?" I said, "Yeah," and he said, "Yeah." That was one of the best soldiers I've seen in my time.
While on the front lines, his father was diagnosed with an advanced form of cancer.
If I can regret something, I don't regret a lot of things in my life, but is that my father died at a very young age, and there's still this emptiness inside you. You know, there's something missing.
He would try to fill that void with an extraordinary life.
My father was a person that he was very proud of his kids. When I walk on the ice and I cross the jungle and I sail the oceans, a lot of times I wondered, what would he think? I would say it's like a drug addict. I've never used drugs, so I wouldn't know, but I think I had the same sensation swimming out of the Amazon.